America, the time right now, 6:22 Eastern, 5:22 right here in Chicago. The trial of Duane Davis, the man charged with ordering the murder of hip-hop legend Tupac Shakur back in 1996, is expected to continue today after opening statements on Monday. Prosecutors portrayed the 30-year-old murder as an act of revenge, alleging Davis set up the shooting after Shakur and his entourage assaulted his nephew. But the defense claims the state is lacking facts about this case. Nick Reiner, the son of Hollywood director Rob Reiner, had his trust hearing postponed until late October. Reiner, who's accused of murdering his parents, is trying to access more than $1 million in trust assets to actually hire his private defense attorney. At issue is California's Slayer statute, which would prevent Reiner from accessing those funds if he's convicted of murder. The prosecution rested on Monday in the trial of Lindsay Clancy. That's the Massachusetts nurse charged in the strangulation deaths of her 3 kids back in 2023. More than 70 witnesses were called for the state before the defense took over yesterday. Clancy's lawyers argued that she was, quote, in the grip of a bipolar disorder and postpartum psychosis. They argue she should not be held criminally responsible. That case continues later today in suburban Boston. Also happening later this morning, Meta is back in court fighting allegations from more than 24 states that Instagram and Facebook were intentionally designed to addict children. Opening statements get underway today in California, less than 2 weeks after Meta lost a similar case in New Mexico that led to a nearly $1 billion fine. This has been called social media's big tobacco moment, recalling the 1990s when tobacco companies had to pay fines for misleading the public on how harmful their products could be. Joining me now, John Fishwick, former U.S. Attorney for the Western District of Virginia. John, thanks so much for joining me this morning, helping us make sense of this monumental moment. This is a lawsuit 3 years in the making. What's Meta been cooking up when it comes to its actual defense since this was first filed?
Well, there's a lot at stake for Meta in this trial. As you mentioned, they lost the New Mexico case. Judge ordered changes to their algorithm as they target youth and also awarded $1 billion in damages, basically. In this case, it's got 4 states that have brought this lawsuit: California, Colorado, New Jersey, and Kentucky. And so Meta's going to say, look, there's no such thing as social media addiction. There's not an official psychiatric diagnosis. We haven't done anything wrong here. We've been open about what we're doing. The attorney generals from these 4 states are greatly going to contest that. They're going to say you have targeted the youth, you have made them addicted to social media, and you've caused real harm. And as you mentioned, the amount of damages they're seeking, $1.4 trillion, is a significant amount of money. So the lot at stake for Meta, really kind of what will happen to the future of their company is on the line in this case.
Yeah, essentially enough to completely bankrupt the company altogether. You mentioned the attorney generals. Let's listen to California AG Rob Bonta. That's one of the states that's co-leading this lawsuit. He had this to say over the weekend.
They did internal research where they knew it hurt the mental health of kids. It created anxiety, depression, body image issues, addictive tendencies, learning loss, and they doubled down and chose profit over the safety of children.
How do you go about actually proving accusations like that in court?
So I think, Alex, what the plaintiffs will do in this case, they'll focus on a lot of the internal documents from Meta when they had done studies and know the effects of their algorithm on youth, that they were pushing their algorithms to do one thing, but then telling parents and the public another thing. And I think those internal documents of Meta could be very damaging in this case to them, because a jury has shown they don't have a lot of trust in what social media is doing now in this country. And so when you show documents and the thinking of the company that they know about a problem, but they're trying to exploit it, I think that'll be a real challenge for Meta in this trial.
So some industry experts are calling this social media's big tobacco moment. I just sort of referenced it. That's the historic changes the cigarette industry made back in the late 90s when it came to marketing to kids. What do you think? Is it fair to compare these 2 moments in history? Is what we might see this week when it comes to Meta very similar to what we saw with big tobacco?
Alex, I think it is. I think it is very similar to big tobacco and other sorts of court cases that we've had in this country against big organizations. I mean, I think what the attorney generals are looking to do is to change the way that social media companies, and in this case, Meta, conducts business. And if they win another one of these kind of significant cases, what are called bellwether cases, I think it'll have the effect of eventually bringing Meta to the table, where they're going to have to agree to how to ways that they conduct business, change the way they conduct business, not targeting youth in the way that they've been doing it. I think ultimately that's what's going to happen. That's what these attorney generals wanted to do. They think this is the big tobacco moment, and they have the wind at their back. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this case in Oakland, California.
You know, you mentioned the internal documents being potentially a strategy and proving liability. What about these other, cases that have happened in the past, most recently just 2 weeks ago in New Mexico, where that young woman was awarded financial gains because she proved essentially that she was addicted as a young woman. Can the states actually rely on that as sort of a precedent in saying, look, this is happening nationwide, this is the reason why they're culpable?
Yeah, I think they absolutely will rely on that New Mexico case to say to the judge in this case, it's a jury trial, but the judge will have a big say over what happens. And they'll say, hey, look, judge, look what happened in New Mexico. Look what the judge did there. The judge awarded, there were massive damages awarded, and they also changed the way they're doing business in New Mexico. We want you to change the way they're doing business in these other 4 states. And that's really the most that's at stake for Meta, because if once a court starts telling them how to change their algorithm, then that means a serious change to kind of the fundamental way they conduct business.
We got to wrap it up, but very quickly, $1.4 trillion is a massive amount of money. I don't need to say that to our audience. We all know that. But everything I'm reading shows that it's probably unlikely that the judge, if they find Meta culpable, will actually penalize them with that financial amount, right?
Yes, that's what they have on paper. I don't think there's any way they're going to get that amount of money. But if they win, they'll get a significant amount of money, but it won't be anywhere near $1.4 trillion. All
right, John Fishwick, thank you very much for your analysis this morning.
Thank you.
All right.